Um, Welcome to Ecclesia number 15. I'm very excited for this AMA because we solved two major bugs, and these are the two critical bugs that we have been chasing for a while. One is really not a bug, but it's a critical feature, which is the two-phase commit. We finally merged that code, and we're testing it out. We've done system tests. Now we're testing it out with the apps. So that will conclude probably today and tomorrow, and then we can start going to the next step, which is essentially talking about it in public forum, whether this is a tweet or social media or with the influencers. So I'm very happy to say the other bug, which is the MPT bug, has been resolved. At least we think it has been, because we have tested it for a week and we did not see any issues, any problems with the MPT bug. So we're very pleased to say that the MPT bug has been sorted out. And so these are the two critical, timeline elements that prevented us from giving any dates. We still am holding off on the launch date, but we'll give you some clarity on where we are. All right. So the first thing I'll do is kind of go through the Google Sheet. Let's see. Right. Okay. I don't see any messages on the chat, so I'm hoping that you guys that we are live and we should be all good. So I don't know if you can see the browser. There we go. Okay. Okay, so if you look at this sheet, let me make it bigger. I don't know if it can. So if you look at the sheet, I don't know if you can see it. There's a lot of stuff in there. But the two critical items, the two-phase commit and the MPT, has been sorted out. We had an original timeline of completing them by the 31st, but we're ahead of schedule, so that's good. And then the apps, we've already released these apps. So one of the things we have done is this is basically we have released them on the main domain. So if you look at, for instance, Atlas. Atlas is on the main domain, atlas.cloud. You could select a network, and right now it's pointing to demo network. And you should be using only the demo network. The dev and testnet are really for developers, for our internal use. Same thing with Bolt, and when you bring up Bolt, it will ask you which network do you want to join, but the default should be demo. Same thing with Chimney, and same thing with Vault. It will ask you which network, and demo is usually the preferred one. All right. So let's go back to that sheet. So we have main domain. So one of the changes we're doing is single wallet. So what that means is that I can go from Vault to Chimney to Bolt to, well, Atlas doesn't need a login, but Blimp and then Chalk, which something we're still work in progress, is you just need one wallet and one phone number, and you should be able to access all these apps without recreating a new wallet, which was a little bit of a pain when I was using it. When I was demonstrating the different apps, it was a little bit cumbersome to go through the exercise of creating a new wallet. So we had that sorted out and streamlined it, so that is sort of like the apps that you see for, let's say, Google, right? Google has multiple apps. You don't need to log in every time. So that's what we have implemented. So that's a single wallet, and as I said, we merged the two critical item code. Actually, we merged it yesterday, so we're testing it out today. That's why we're asking you guys in the community to hold off testing for a bit longer. Maybe Tiago will announce it on Telegram when it's ready to go for the 5 apps. So the 5 apps meaning Atlas, Bolt, Vault, Blimp, and Chimney, which we already released. And we also have streamlined the flow for tokens to pay for fees. So for Chimney, for instance, yeah, when you start up Chimney, you don't have any tokens in your wallet. So how do you fund the server? And that's something we have streamlined. What we're doing is we're basically giving tokens from the team wallet to fund the server wallets so that it's easy to start up and you guys don't face any issues. Once you get going with one server, if you want to add additional servers, then you'll have to pay on your own. But for the first startup server, we're basically streamlining it and we're paying for it. So that required quite a bit of change on our end to make it easy for people who are not as knowledgeable about how to go about doing or funding wallets and doing those things. So we made it fairly simple to do it now. And then yeah, so those are the things that we changed, and there were some other issues that was pointed out by the community that we fixed. So hopefully in the next few days we'll start announcing and doing social tweets on these 5 apps so that people can start looking at them. We're also doing videos for these apps. So we'll start with Vault, and then we will do Blimp, and then Chimney. So these are videos, professional videos, so that people can use it for, influencers can use it, or people can use it to see how they work so that they can do it themselves. I mean, it's fairly simple to use, but these are, also for promotional purposes. So there'll be a short version and a long version. The long version would be more educational in the sense how you want to use the apps. So we'll start with Vault, then Blimp, then Chimney, and then when Chalk is ready, we'll do one for Chalk. For Bolt and Atlas, we'll do those later on because those are pretty self-explanatory, but that's something we will highlight later on. Okay, so that's basically the plan in terms of timeline. The Chalk, we moved it out a little bit. Again, with Chalk, I looked at the app. We were gonna release it today, but there are a few changes that I wanted to see, primarily to streamline and make it easier for people to go through the app. And as an artist, if you want to have a more streamlined flow and more flexibility, that's something we're incorporating. So we just delayed it by a week to have it by May 31st. Hopefully we'll have it ready before then, but I just put a timeline of May 31st to get it done by then. For the mobile desktop apps, and Hackathon, we plan to release it next week. We pushed it out because there were some issues with approval, getting approval from the store. There were a couple of issues that we are looking into, especially the Apple one. So we'll get that resolved, and hopefully we'll be able to publish it on the store. We'll get approval and publish it on the store. Okay, so they are basically in line with what we want to do. And then we want to start working on Cypress tests for the apps, and that will be completed by middle of next month. Load test, we expect it's working well, the load test. So there is nothing that we see any problems with it. So we expect that to complete by next week, and that's when we will start the active set. So we are also, for the load test network, we're also testing the apps on this large network. And if it works, then we will turn on the active set, and then we will test the apps on the active set along with load testing on the active set. So that's the plan going forward. And then, if that works out, then we can say, okay, it's mainnet ready. There are a couple of things that we need to do for mainnet ready. We need to deploy contracts on Ethereum. We need to make sure our zero box server, our centralized zero box server is highly available. So those are some of the things that we need to benchmark and scale. But we expect that to be done by end of the month. So it's really how the load test performs. Now it's the timeline to figure out, okay, when do we start the active set, and then announce that the mainnet is ready. And then we do a countdown on our website and start doing promotions about the launch. And then we can fix the date, and it could be in 2 weeks' time after when we announce the countdown, or it could be something like 3 weeks, depending on how long do we want. So a couple of things on the issues front. I'm excited to say that we're down to less than 50 issues, which is a huge number. If you look at the number of issues, so you see this is 48, which is a very nice number for me to look at, because I haven't looked at a number less than 50 for ages. And to see it come down to less than 50 is a dream come true. So we're almost there. As you can see, the number of issues in review is about 7, and a number of issues in progress are about 10. So out of the 48, 17 are essentially in review, and progress are in review means some of them have been reviewed, but it's just that they're not passing system tests, so we need to fix the test in order to merge the code. So we expect 17 to merge fairly soon, probably in a week or so. And then we're left with about 30 issues, which we expect that to conclude to 24 issues for the next AMA. I think next AMA in 2 weeks, we should be down to 24 issues. And by June 14th, we expect it to be 0. So if you were to say, okay, should we launch June 14th? I would say, well, we'll see. We'll probably launch around that time. If we get all of these working, we can say mainnet ready by May 31st and launch by June 14th. But we'll have to wait and see where our load test is completed and how the apps are behaving with the load test on. So one of the things we are testing is we have the load test, but we also have chaos on. And we want to see how the load test performs with chaos. And also we want to see how the apps perform with load test and chaos. So it's like the worst possible situation. And if that works out, then we we'll kind of repeat the same thing. Of course, in active set, we won't be able to repeat the chaos, but we'll repeat, let's say, DDoS test and see how it works out. If it works out really well, then we say, okay, we're mainnet ready and let's do the countdown. So that's kind of the landscape of how we plan to progress in the next month or so. So we'll give you another update in 2 weeks when we have our next AMA. So in terms of hackathon repos, they will be public by May 25th. And we'll also update our documentation by the end of the month. So essentially, we're gearing up for readiness by the end of the month, and it may get pushed to the first week of June. And then we'll see how long we need to wait for mainnet launch. So it could be sometime middle of June or to the late toward the tail end of June. All right, so I think I've talked about everything about the apps and about the mainnet schedule. Now I'm gonna go to the AMA to respond to some questions. Okay, so so the question number one: can you explain the MTB? It's actually MPT bug. What does it stand for? It's Merkle Patricia tree, which is it is a way we record the state. So for instance, if you have a balance of 1 ZCN or 2 ZCN, we want to make sure that balance doesn't get changed because that's the current state. Now there could be transactions that's happening, and of course your balance changes, but it shouldn't change because of a code issue. And that's what we were chasing, and we found the bug, and it was explained in the weekly why it was occurring. So there were a couple of places where it could have changed, and that's what was the problem was. So that's a very critical bug. Without that, we can't launch blockchain. It's that simple. And it was only happening because of chaos when we were, putting the miners down and sharders down and then bringing it up. And what would happen is it will try to sync the state. So let's say if I'm a miner, I go down and then I come up, I have missed a lot of blocks. So my state is not the same as the current state of the blockchain. So I have to synchronize my state with the current blockchain state, and that's when things go awry and this bug surfaces. So it only surfaces when we have issues with we would have issues if the server were to go down, and we need to account for that. Okay, second question: is mainnet going ahead with or without sharders? This was a little unclear at the last AMA. It was in my impression mainnet would launch without sharders, and that would come later. So the I think you're talking about blobbers, because mainnet we were thinking of launching mainnet without the blobbers or the storage part, essentially the blockchain. The blockchain is made up of miners and sharders, so they need to be there. Without a sharders, you cannot have the blockchain running. So your references to the blobbers, we could start the blockchain and add the blobbers later on. That was the initial plan a month ago, but now we have merged the two-phase commit code, so we're good to go with the blobbers. So we're good to go with the storage aspect of our platform. Okay, third question. Any progress on optimizing upload and download times? Seemed like before large files was an issue. I believe we have, let me see if I go to this. Yeah, here we go. So this is a test that was done 3rd of May. So this was done like 2 weeks ago. We have a better result than AWS, as you can see the red line. This is for 450 meg. This is a large file, by the way. So for 450 megabyte file, there are different erasure code ratios. So for the 5.1, which is 5 data and 1 parity, this is the AWS line, which is about 15-16 seconds on average. And for download and for upload, it's about 11 seconds. Whereas if you look at ZCN, basically Zeus uploads and downloads is about 9 seconds, which is pretty good compared to what they have. But we're doing some more tests because we recently merged code, so we haven't published this data yet because we want to wait for the two-phase commit, the download, and multi-load upload, multi-file upload. So we have like 3 different code that is being merged, and we want to redo the test and then present it to the community. But things are looking really good. Hopefully we'll get even better results. Okay, so that's that question. Okay, question 4. My original question about who are the influencers. This is a very contentious, as some influencers are very bad, and it might be worth asking the community before engaging with their influencers. You're absolutely right. So why don't you guys? I'm gonna hold off on the influencers, and I was thinking maybe the community can give me a list. And this is in conjunction with Tiago, who is in touch with the community, to come up with a list of influencers that you would like us to reach out to talk about our products, because we have good products, and I agree we should have good influencers. So I don't know the current reputations of the current influencers because it's changing. It's sort of like a stock market, some influencer stock is up and then some goes down really when they do something bad. So you guys have better pulse on the situation, so perhaps you can recommend a list of influencers. So maybe have a ordered list of influencers that you would like us to reach out to. Okay. Question 5. Would be nice to have a very high quality influencer speak about Zeus after launch. Coin Bureau creates high quality. Sure, if Coin Bureau is one of the influencers, we'll reach out to him for sure. Absolutely. So again, make a list of influencers and we'll reach out to them. Okay. Question 6. Is the head of brand still on the team? Jana, I think, is she on hold waiting for launch? Jana is no longer with the team. We have already done branding for all our apps, Zeus. So there's not a whole lot of work to do except basically spread the word, which we have been doing. We have several people working um, uh, on media, PR, social media. So that's something we are working on. And with some of the content you may see are more generic content, but they will get more specific once we have their apps released and stable. That's something that we are holding off on a little bit, and so we're waiting for the apps to be a little bit more stable on the demo network, and as well as on the testnet network. So we want right now, if you look at the apps, they're performing well on the demo network. Obviously, on the dev network, they're about the same. But on testnet, which is a larger network, there are some issues that we are fixing. So once that stabilizes, we'll go full on marketing on social media and PR and press releases and all of that. So that will happen. Okay. Last question. Liquidity has been one of the main criticism. I understand the adoption of Zeus will increase liquidity over time. However, current liquidity is extremely low. It has to start from somewhere. This will limit adoption. Why not kickstart some liquidity alongside the launch with the reward program like we had before with the Geyser? Could be other solution. I agree, liquidity is an issue, but if you look at liquidity, it's um, it's really not an issue when people start using it because there is a price people will sell, there's a price people will buy. So liquidity is a function of buyers and sellers meeting at the right point of price where they accept that price. So I think that will happen eventually. Once we go mainnet, that will have to happen because without that, you cannot use the apps. And then if you look at the earnings of if you look at the earning calculator, as ZCN goes up, then we have more people on the network using it and more people buying ZCN. So it's it's kind of a positive feedback. We expect that to happen once we release mainnet, and then there will be liquidity because there will be a lot of people buying and selling. So it's a function of the market. If you go back in history, liquidity was never a problem. Was always a problem in the stock market. Like if you look at stocks that are very low liquidity, this is in the Nasdaq or New York Stock Exchange. But as they get publicized, as more and more people are aware of this particular stock, the liquidity doesn't affect them. It's not a problem anymore because the buyers and sellers meet at that price point, which they think is the value of the company. In our case, it's more like the function will be based on how much data is stored on the network and how many people are using it for their everyday life, whether this is to store data, to provide data, or to hold data, to hold ZCN as a asset because you have better security. Like on the Bolt wallet, we have a two-factor authentication security on Bolt, so you may hold it just for security reasons. And also, if you want to stake on the providers, on the blobbers specifically. All right, so I think I'm done with all the questions. Let's go back. All right, so I'm done with all the questions. And if you have any, I haven't. The reason I don't want to, I don't have a demo for Chalk today because, as I said, we pushed it out for a couple of weeks. So, the next AMA, what I'll do is I'll introduce Chalk, and hopefully we'll introduce them before the AMA so that you guys can try it out. So one of the things is that before the next AMA, we should be able to release all the apps on the store, and should be able to release the Chalk app and release some videos so that you can take a look at what we have built and use it, because this is the time that community should use the apps, give us final feedback so that we can do some final adjustments and freeze all the features and all the UI UXs so that we can go to production. We're right now on basically go mode, mainnet go mode. Because there's nothing right now. It's a pretty straightforward execution because, as I said, the critical bugs are solved. So it's more getting things done and basically execute on the plan. So we have a mainnet, a Go mainnet plan. We're executing on it and hope to get it out there. All right, so have a great weekend and have a great day. Hope to see you again end of the month for the next AMA. Till then, goodbye. Have a good day. Bye-bye.